And boom, there we go. 3 seconds in. So I just had to wait. Hello, welcome to a brand new episode of Dylan Knows. It is actually on a Sunday today, Sunday, March 13th. It is presently 1:45 p.m. It was daylight savings time, I guess, started last night. So I didn't do a show last night because we had to jump ahead an hour. So by the time we were ready to get the kids to bed and stuff like that, it was technically 11 o'clock, and I didn't want to, after we got the kids to bed, it was like around 12:30. I didn't want to start a show then and go till like 2:30 and do all that stuff because of the extra hour. So I figured, I'll just push it off to Sunday when things have settled down a little bit, and they have. So here we are. Sunday is when I used to do my show. So periodically it pops up when I need to for timing purposes, or if we stuff going on Saturday. Next weekend shouldn't be as big of a problem because my family is going away again for camping stuff, for scouting. So I will be home alone next week. We will also be entering into spring next week. Next week is a huge one. We'll talk about that later on. We'll talk about what happened this past week and some other stuff as well. We've got some trailers. We've got the return of In Dreams, which is my bit where I tell you about some of the weird dreams I had this week. I had 2 doozies this week, including the name of the episode, Shaving Paul Rudd. So hopefully that'll be an interesting one. We've got some surprises. We've got a lot of Batman talk. We've got anniversaries. We got a lot of stuff. We got more movie date changes again, which I didn't think we were going to keep doing, but apparently we are. We've got some, what else we have? New foodstuffs, new snack items, new movie trailers, surprising things, which I didn't know about. A lot of surprising things, including Bill Murray and Eddie Murphy almost did a movie that you wouldn't have expected. Fruit snacks made from iced tea. Keanu Reeves actually has a superhero role. Why didn't I think of it before? Dracula plus sharks equals Sharkula. How about champagne pina coladas? So we've got some stuff rolling out here. We've got people leaving work, getting jobs, suffering injuries, people dying, people getting cast in roles, trailers, animals, ships being discovered that haven't been discovered in years or had been missing for years. And prep for an interesting week this week. So yeah, actually this week is fairly interesting because, and then one last thing I need to end on is, and now we kind of understand why the world is the way it is, because something happened in Japan that surprised the hell of a lot of people. So we'll get into that in a second. But first, this upcoming week, well, let's just reverse back that. Last week we had potential for snow. Snow came and hit Saturday. So we got some snow on Saturday. I'm probably about 4 to 6 inches up here, actually, in Reisterstown. But it was fluffy, wet stuff because the day before it was in the upper 60s. So it was one of these weird sort of weather patterns. This upcoming week, we've got good temperatures. So nothing below like 50 degrees is going on this week and as highs. So that's pretty interesting. My twin nephews have entered their teenage years. Their birthday was yesterday. Also, they both turned 13. So happy birthday to them. But then we've got this upcoming week, which is chock full of all kinds of exciting stuff. Tomorrow is March 14th, or 314, or 3.14. So tomorrow is Pi Day. 3:15 is Beware the Ides of March from Julius Caesar. So we have that coming up. 3:16, the Bible, John 3:16, is something about the end of the world, or we shall walk through the valley. It's something you see at sporting events all the time, people holding up signs that say John 3:16. And then I think a wrestler used, I think it's Austin 3:16 or something like that. They co-opted it as well. So we've got that coming up. Then we have Thursday is March 17th, which is St. Patrick's Day. So I've been wearing green since last Thursday. I don't think anybody's noticed. So we got that going on. And then the 18th would have been my stepdad's Roger's birthday. He passed away 3 to 4 years ago. So it would have been his birthday on the 18th. And then the 19th, as I said, my family is going camping. 2 separate areas this time. My wife and daughter are going hiking. And my son is going to Adventure Re, and then Sunday the 20th is the first day of spring. So we've got a lot rolling through up here this week. So all kinds of interesting stuff. So it should be an interesting week. It's also going to be a hard week since we did lose an hour of sleep. Temperature, sun's going to be out till like 6, 7 o'clock at night. Yeah, but we're going to be exhausted. Now, it usually doesn't hit me till Tuesday. Tomorrow I should be okay. And then I think, nothing's going to happen. And then Tuesday, I just get railed with tiredness and just not knowing what's going on and timing and stuff like that because of the time change. I'm not one that hates the time change. I'm okay with changing the time. I've heard stuff. I have to verify this, but I've heard things that if we didn't do this, there would be occasions where the sun would set at 2 p.m. and also the sun would rise at 4 a.m. Those are two potential things. If we did not do this, after a little while, eventually timing would work itself out, and that's what happened. So, that's where the time is not real. It was a construct, blah, 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 if you believe that aspect as well, because, if they didn't have clocks back in the way olden days. So basically what you did is when the sun came up, you did your hunting or did your job or whatever you're supposed to do, went out, bathed, did whatever during the day when it was light out. And then as it was getting darker, you went back to your cave, campsite, whatever, and want to get back to a safe area, get the fires going. So you didn't really know timing. You just knew that, okay, there's this certain amount of span of time where it's bright out, so we can do stuff. And then there's a certain area of time at other parts where it's dark out all the time, and we need to, get back home because of all the creatures out and about that could hurt us or other people that could hurt us. And also, kind of tired from all the work we've been doing and fire and all this stuff. So we'll see what happens. But that's what's going on with that. A lot of interesting stuff going on here. A small asteroid impacted the Earth on March 11th this past week, 2022, just north of Iceland and to the east of Greenland. So it was actually in like the Arctic Ocean, Bering Strait, whatever, not Bering Strait, the Arctic Ocean area. So it didn't affect anybody, but we did get hit with a small asteroid as well. Staying with solar stuff and outer space stuff, actually, I think I'm not exactly sure the timing of it. It's either going to be already past at 12 o'clock or it's going to be around midnight tonight because it just said 12 o'clock. A massive solar storm is going to be hitting the Earth sometime today into early tomorrow, which is going to bring massive aurora borealis to the north and a massive aurora, what's it southern called? I forget what the southern one is called, to the south of us, because they're getting ready to enter their fall. So they still have, and they're dark time. So it's starting to get dark down there. So you're going to have both of those get hit hard with this sun particles. Plus there's a potential that if it is midnight, it shouldn't be a big deal since most people will be asleep, but could affect cell phone coverage and other stuff as well. So just be aware, but it's always interesting. Again, it's not going to hurt you. We're protected by all this stuff, but it's just a massive storm is coming our way. So yippee. First snack item we're going to discuss today is salted caramel Twix. I like Twix a lot. The chocolate caramel and cookie flavor is one of my favorite cookies as well. They did a all caramel sort of one, something like that double kiss, something they did one a couple of years ago. I think I have a picture of it. Maybe I think I deleted it, but there was one that came out before COVID. It wasn't that impressive. Maybe it was something else, but the salted caramel Twix is an interesting thing to look at. Salted caramel is actually really, really good. I like salted caramel, so it would be interesting to see how that would, play out in a candy bar like Twix. So, some anniversary stuff that came out this week. Today, my cousin Vinny celebrates his 30th anniversary. Came out in 1992. On March 13th, 1992. Great movie, great cast. Marissa Tomei won an Oscar for her role. I showed my daughter it. She likes it a lot too. I forgot how much the F word is in it. I didn't think it was in it that much, but it is. It is Joe Pesci anyway. but it's not all bad. But it's entertaining and it's fun. And it was a good story and good cast. March 13th, 1781. So let's see, 1781, 1881, 1981. All right. So that's 200 years, 81, 91, 2001, 2011, 2021, 241 years ago. That's what it is. 241 years ago. Astronomer William Herschel discovered, don't chuckle, Uranus, one of the most interesting planets out there. We weren't sure it actually existed. We knew it was there, and we saw the star, and we believed that was Uranus, but we didn't know what it actually looked like till we sent Voyager 2 out there. And I love the fact that when Voyager 2 went out there, it did Jupiter and Saturn, but then Voyager 1, when Voyager 1 first went out, it just did Jupiter, Saturn, and then left. And then Voyager 2 did Jupiter, Saturn, and then did Uranus and Neptune. So we got our first views of both Uranus and Neptune. Uranus has the upside down rings, which is outstanding. I love that. And Neptune has that deep blue with white puffy cloud sort of style that's just stunning. And the big black eye storm thing that it has. It's just, I think Neptune, of all the planets we have, I think Neptune is the most visually pleasing. The Earth is up there, I guess, obviously, but each one has a different sort of aspect to it, which is really kind of interesting. So, but yeah, the big thing about Uranus was the circles around its north and south poles instead of around its equator. So that was kind of interesting, and the massive mountains. But that was discovered 241 years ago today. So happy birthday to Uranus. Viewers of the show know my obsession with Sarah Michelle Gellar. It's not sexual anymore. I don't even know if it ever really was. It was just I liked her when she did Buffy way back 25 years ago. This is where I'm going. 25th anniversary of Buffy was this week. Came out, I think, March 10th, 11th, something like that, 25 years ago. So a lot of celebration with that. I'm still infatuated with her, but it's not I want to have a relationship and children and stuff like that with her. No, because I enjoy, I'm glad that her and Freddie Prinze Jr. found each other because they deserve each other and they're a perfect couple and they've got two wonderful kids. And for those who watch the show also, my dream now is that their daughter Charlotte falls in love with my son Noah and we become in-laws. It's not going to happen, I know, but it would still be funny because they're right around the same age. I mean, Noah, I think, is just roughly about a year older, if not a year, but by a few months older than she is. So that's kind of cool. Pokemon's going to celebrate their 25th anniversary, which is this year also, with a 1-hour anime special. Don't know when it's going to air, but it's going to be coming out here soon, I would assume, because it's coming up here. Anything else anniversary-wise on this page? There might be some more other stuff coming out here. The first surprising thing, we'll do a couple surprising things. One, 6 Army football players. The Army, they are members of the Army, and they play football. They played in the Army Navy game, blah blah blah. But 6 members of the Army football team overdosed on fentanyl-laced cocaine, which in and of itself has a couple of issues I have. One, these football players were using cocaine. And second, we know that fentanyl infused cocaine is a thing, and it's more dangerous than regular cocaine. And these people apparently, wherever they got their cocaine from, got the bad batch with the fentanyl added to it. I'm still not exactly sure why drug dealers add the fentanyl to it. Is it to bulk it up a little bit? Because it does potentially overdose and almost kill people when they take that fentanyl-laced cocaine. So you'd think that if they recover, they're not going to want to do cocaine again because of the potential that they almost died. Now, I could be wrong. I mean, addiction is a totally different thing you look at, and it could be a different thing. But right now, it doesn't make sense. But the general consensus that gets me most upset is that 6 Army cadets, football players, students in the Army program took cocaine. And yes, they overdosed, which is horrible thing that happened to them. They're going to survive. But the fact is they were taking cocaine. And it's not kind of hard because a few years ago, I did a show about alternate realities and what ifs, and I might even think about trying to do that again because it's all kinds of what ifs I could throw in there. There was one potential one is what if Lenny Bias didn't overdose? And Lenny Bias, for those who don't know, was a stud basketball player for the University of Maryland, the Maryland Terrapins. He was one guy who could go toe-to-toe with Michael Jordan because they were both in college at the same time. And in fact, he beat Michael Jordan numerous times in college. And he got drafted, Lenny Bias got drafted by the Boston Celtics. And it would have been interesting to see how he and Larry Bird together would take on MJ and Scottie Pippen, and how a Bulls Celtics sort of rivalry could go, and who would get the better and who would end up being the greatest of all time. If Lenny Bias might have survived, would he be in the talks to be one of the greatest basketball players of all time, up there with Michael Jordan or LeBron James? We're never going to know, because literally like about 2 or 3 days after he was drafted, and on the day before my birthday, he overdosed on, I think, a speedball, which isn't quite cocaine, but it's a drug mixture, and he died from it. And the what if still hangs high over that. And there have been these sports pages I follow on Facebook who've added what would be your what if sports thing. And a lot of people mentioned the Lenny Bias thing. A lot of people also mentioned is what if the Snowgate thing, where Tom Brady's first game where he had the fumble that wasn't a fumble, and they end up winning the football game and started their march to being a big competitive team for the last 20 years or so, and started Tom Brady on the path to being his GOAT aspect. What if they actually called it correct, because it was a fumble? It wasn't he wasn't throwing, it was a fumble, and the Raiders recovered it. The Raiders should have won that game and should have gone on to the Super Bowl, but they didn't, and that's where the whole thing started. That's another one that people, they would have. What if the Raiders end up winning that game? Does Tom Brady become Tom Brady? I don't know. We'll never know. That's why they're called what ifs. But that was a surprising thing. Another surprising thing, which shouldn't be a big surprise to me, but it's still kind of a jarring thing, is that a woman gave birth to twins, and one was a black boy and a white girl. And obviously the father is probably black and she's white. So I just never thought that. Genetics is weird. I mean, it's obviously it happens, so it can happen, but it just seems wild that all the DNA of the father was in the son, and all the DNA of the mother is in the daughter, which actually in the end isn't really that surprising, because my son looks like me and my daughter looks like my wife. So I mean, I guess you could see that, but it just seems like that. But we have a good mix. I mean, yes, they look like us, but they still have aspects of each, me and my daughter and my wife and my son. And I'm sure that that's what happens with these twins also. But the fact is, it's just a jarring view. No, I'm not saying anything wrong with it. It just kind of surprised me. And it was kind of interesting. It's like, I've never really seen anything like that before. And that might actually make for an interesting story to tell in a TV show or movie or whatever. And that could be pretty much interesting as well. Another surprising thing is Encanto is absolutely a wonderful film. If you have not watched it yet, it's on Disney Plus right now. You can also get it out on DVD and Blu-ray if you do not have Disney Plus, and get it. I absolutely recommend checking out Encanto. It is an absolutely wonderful Disney film, and one of my favorites, more recent favorites. The main character is voiced by Mirabelle, is voiced by Stephanie Beatrice from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, played Rosa. Well, she revealed this week that when she was recording the song Working on a Miracle, or Waiting on a Miracle, which is a wonderful song in the film, she was in labor with her first child, which is a daughter. She ended up having her a day later, but it was scheduled, the recording session was scheduled for that day. She went to it and started having contractions, but she did not want to let Disney know. She just wanted to get this done with, and then she would move out. And she said, what's the worst could happen? I give birth to the baby in the Disney studio. So she was able to record the song, and then she went off and had her baby. So that's a surprising thing I learned this week as well. I think it's kind of cool. And Disney did not know about it until she mentioned it to them later on. Speaking of Disney, this isn't a surprise, but speaking of Disney, Disney is joining forces with Nippon partnership to create new anime for Disney Plus. So they are using an actual anime company to create new material in anime for a Disney Plus show. Now they did that Star Wars anime special or series. It was a series, I guess. They did like 6 episodes and had anime directors just let loose about. I still haven't seen. I want to check that out and let loose of what they would think a Star Wars film would be like in anime format. So they've started this relationship with them. So now they're expanding it to maybe create new content, new anime that could become as classic as the ones we're looking at now. So that's always good. Speaking of Disney Plus, the long-awaited Obi-Wan trailer finally comes out. Came out this week, along with some new photos from the show. It looks outstanding. It looks exactly how you expected the show to be. There's been some minor disappointment with the High Inquisitors. They have these more, cone head sort of shapes head, but in the show they're like a normal human face, so they're a little upset about that. The Rabbit fan base upset about that, but it looks like it's got a lot of action. It's got some good aspects. You get a good idea of what the story's going to be. It looks like it's going to be a darker kind of story, and it's very surprising and very very good looking. I can't wait to see that. Not to be outdone, around the same time, Star Trek released their new trailer for their new series, Strange New World, which I think is I don't know if it's I'm not exactly sure what it is. The trailer was just more of a teaser showing different planets and aliens and stuff like that, and then ends with the shot of the current actor who's playing Pike in Star Trek Discovery. And it just seems... we know he's involved with it, but I don't know if he's going to be the one who's going to be exploring these new worlds, and every episode is going to be like a one and done on a separate world. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, Strange New World is what it sounds like it's going to be, but regardless, it looks as expected. It looks outstanding and fantastic, and it's a good time to be a science fiction fan. It's also a good time to be a comic book fan because Sean Levy, who's directed Ryan Reynolds in Free Guy, which is a great movie. The Apollo Project, which just came out on Netflix on Friday, has been getting some good reviews, has now signed to do a third movie with him, a little movie called Deadpool 3. So now they have a director attached. Ryan Reynolds has been working on the script, so now they have a director, and the script is almost done. Deadpool 3 is that one step closer to getting into production and getting released soon. I'm not saying it's imminent, but I'm saying look for it in 2024, possibly. Maybe even as early as 2023. It obviously won't be this year, but maybe 2023. More likely probably 2024, but still, they have a director, and Sean Levy's actually a really good director at it. So I'm impressed with that. Also, speaking of comic book movies, The Batman is the most talked about, most popular discussion topic this past week. It is number 1 at the box office again this week with $68 million, something still impressive for a second week run during COVID times for a 3-hour plus movie. In total, it has $238.5 million domestically and $400 million worldwide. So it's which is double its production costs. So it's making its money back, obviously, and it's going to keep going for a while. I mean, there's nothing foreseeable in the future that might knock it out of its number 1 spot. I mean, Sandra Bullock's got a wonderful looking romantic comedy coming up, but sorry, I started knocking. Is it the cat? Oh, Jesus, Jinx. Hi, baby. You scared me. I heard something and I just wasn't seeing her. And all of a sudden, there's the kitty babies. All right, I'm still working here. All right, sorry about that. Jinx, you stink. Anyway, where was I? There's a Sandra Bullock movie coming out, romantic comedy with Channing Tatum and Daniel Radcliffe, called The Lost City of Z. I think that looks like a Romancing the Stone sort of action adventure thing. It might do well, but could it unseat Batman? Sure, but I'm not sure if it's coming out this week. It might be coming out on the 25th, which is in 2 weeks. So I said, I don't think there's really anything upcoming that I've seen ads for, whatever, that is potentially could knock it off. So we'll see what happens like that. Another few other surprising things I discovered. Tom Brady, who I was just discussing, apparently still sleeps in his race car bed when he goes to his family's house, his parents' house. I just want to say that because I think that's silly, but whatever, and surprising, if you will. Also surprising, is there a third Mario brother named Pablo? March 10th was Mario Day, and someone released a picture at a grocery store of a meat section in a grocery store that had a stack of meat that said Mario, a stack of meat that said Luigi, and in the middle was a stack of meat that said Pablo. So rumors are abounding. Was there ever a third Mario Brothers? I doubt it. It's probably coincidental, and I don't know why they would have Mario and Luigi on the names of these meats. But that's where people were thinking, what? Some new items out. Fruit Loops jelly beans. We've been talking about Skittles jelly beans and Peeps jelly beans and all kinds of types of jelly beans. Well, Fruit Loops are now getting in on the game. They have jelly beans now. The thing is, though, Easter's about a month away, and I still haven't seen the Skittles jelly beans or the Fruit Loop jelly beans or any of these specialized jelly beans in the grocery store. Now, I haven't gone to Walmart and haven't gone to Target, so maybe they're there. Maybe that's the only place you're going to be able to get them. But there you go. Other new stuff, a portable grill that looks like a toolbox. So basically it's like a red toolbox thing. You carry it around, you pop it down and open it up, and it becomes a grill. I don't know if it's gas grill or if it's a charcoal grill. It could be both. I don't know, but that's an interesting thing you might want to look at for maybe the summer if you're going to the beach or on picnics or whatever, and you want to bring a grill with you. It's not too heavy. It's not, it's very portable and easy to maneuver around. So that's pretty good. Broth bombs. There were the hot chocolate bombs that came out a few years ago, which was the hot chocolate mixed with flavorings and marshmallows, stuff like that, and you put it in a cup and then you put the hot water in it, and it just sort of bursted into a hot chocolate sort of thing. Well, now the people decided, hey, why don't we try that with broths for food? So they've mixed up chicken broths or beef broths or whatever type of broths you want to do. And put the spices and stuff in it in a bag, and put it in a pot, and you put the hot water in it, and same thing happens. You have instant broth. So kind of interesting, I guess. No contact host dispensers for churches. With COVID still being a thing, if you go to church, that in the Catholic Church anyway, when you go for communion, the priest, hands you the host during communion, and you eat it. Now, if you don't want the priest touching the stuff because of COVID now, there's now a dispenser that they will press a button and it'll shoot right out for you and you'll grab it. So that's a thing as well. Another surprising thing, Rob Zombie is directing a remake movie of The Munsters, the classic 1960s TV show that was competing with The Addams Family, but it was whereas The Addams Family was kind of a weird, quirky sort of show, The Munsters was your typical sort of sitcom-y type of show with a Frankenstein dad, Frankenstein dad and a Bride of Frankenstein mom, and then you have the werewolf uncle and the werewolf child, I guess, and so much. And then you have the human girl who is like their relative also. So he was making, a remake of that, and we've been seeing some shots from it, and it looks like it's, on par with like a Rob Zombie thing. It looks like they're being, accurate to the character, stuff like that. But the big talk was that, is he going to turn this into one of his splatter gore fests, which he likes to do with his movies. His movies, if you've never seen any of them, are these deep, strong horror films with lots of blood, gore, sex, nudity, and stuff like that. We got our answer this week, and it's surprising. Yes, it's not going to be rated R. It's not going to be rated PG-13 either. It's a PG-rated film. It's got a PG rating, which means that Rob Zombie is treating the characters and the stories with the respect it deserves. He's not turning it into his horror splatterfest stuff. And, and you got to give the guy credit for that. Maybe he wanted to try something different because he's been making these same style movies, and maybe these film director or film reviewers who see that say he's repeating himself, he's doing the same things over and over again, that he wanted to try something different and see if he could do it. And he chose this, and apparently it's successful. Add that also is he has cast Cassandra Peterson, also known as Elvira, as a real estate agent, but she will not be playing the real estate agent as Elvira. She'll be playing it as Cassandra Peterson. So that's good. Cassandra Peterson made headlines last year when she came out as bisexual, and she's been in a relationship with a woman now for 20 plus years. I read her autobiography last year also. It was very entertaining, had a lot of really good stories. I did a review of it on one of my shows last year. Go back into the archive and check that out if you want to. Couldn't tell you which one it is, but gotta watch them all then. What else we got here? Pitch Perfect, the Anna Kendrick, Elizabeth Banks films, is becoming a TV show starring Sarah Hyland and Janelina Joni or whatever. I don't know her name really, sorry. But it makes sense, I guess, to make it kind of into a TV show. So, yeah. So all I got left now on this page is Death. And the one big thing I'm going to say for a second. So we'll do some In Dreams. I got 2 In Dreams for you this week. The first is the big one, hence the name of the episode, Shaving Paul Rudd. In Dreams are when I remember weird, bizarre dreams that I've had during the week, and I write them down and tell you guys because they're just weird. I've had an episode last year, I think, where I had dinner with... I can't think of his name right now. The dwarf from Game of Thrones and is in Cyrano, Peter Dinklage. That's what it was. The episode was called Lunch with Peter Dinklage, and that was a dream I had. So in this dream, I'm shaving Paul Rudd. Dreaming that I dreamt that someone had bet me about how fast I could shave Paul Rudd's full beard. And during it, I'm being pursued by these characters from Fortnite called IO guards. They're like AI sort of robot sort of things. And do something illegal all over the town. There's some American Pie jokes in there as well. It's starting to fade a little bit, but the fact of the matter is that the main premise of it that I remember is that I was bet by somebody that I had how fast I could shave Paul Rudd's beard. So that's kind of a weird kind of dream. So I'm sorry. I wrote this down literally, like was one of the first things I wrote. So it's had a week now to sort of melt away. So I couldn't tell you exactly the generalities of it. Another one I had a few days later was I owned a comic book store, but apparently it was in the middle of the desert in an old sort of like gas station sort of place that apparently had you had the door and then there was like an upper window that there was no window in it. And J.K. Simmons, the actor, was the guy who was teaching me how to run a comic book store. And I also had a former colleague of mine who is a bigwig at Boom Studios Comics, Philip Sablick, was on hand also to help me on my way about how to run this comic book store. And then there was a guy and a girl in the back who were my like IT people who were doing stuff, but I was like the only employee, and the back room where the computer guys were was like a really narrow, like aisleway sort of thing. It was like a little narrow hallway they were working at, but it was literally, the weird thing was, it was literally in the middle of nowhere. And I think there was a scene where there was somebody who showed up and tried to get in like at midnight or something like that. So I don't know. And I was living on the premises, I think. So that was another kind of weird one as well. So that's it for this week's In Dream. Sorry, I couldn't remember a lot of the aspects of these other ones, but I just thought you get the main gist of the shaving Paul Rudd one. That's one thing that's going to stick with me for a while. Is like, who would pay me to see how fast I could shave Paul Rudd's beard, and why would I think that? And secondly, why would I open a comic book store in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere, with sand blowing and the dust, those spiky sort of things that roll through? Weird. We may have a reason why the world is in a shitty shape that it is now. A 1,000-year-old boulder in Japan that is thought to be imprisoning the demon Seshoski has just broken in half, and people are freaking out in Japan because they are hugely superstitious. They believe in demons and evil beings, stuff like that, and they believe that this stone, which is 1,000 years old, was imprisoning the demon that tried to destroy Japan. And now that it's broken, has the demon escaped? And that's why the world is in the state it is, or is something bad on the horizon? This story broke, I think, early last week, I think. So this was right after the Ukraine, the Russian insurgents into Ukraine. So who knows how long that stone was broken. So it could very well possibly been that the demon has been the one that's behind this invasion. So to be continued. We will see if things get worse. It wouldn't surprise me if things get worse, because we've had a really rough span of about 2 years now. Actually longer than that, but that's besides the point. So we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll come back to it periodically. Now, some deaths. We have a lot of deaths this week, actually, a lot of deaths. John Stahl, Game of Thrones actor, died at the age of 68. He died early last week, right after I'd done the show last week. So that's why it's near the top. Now, this is interesting. Two siblings of various musicians had died this week. Tracy Braxton, sister of Tony Braxton, who starred in the reality show Braxton Family Values, died at the age of 81 or 51? I think it was 51, age of 51. Died at the age of 51. And Bobby Lee Nelson, Willie Nelson's sister, passed away at the age of 91. Willie just wrote a song about her that he just released after her death, and he's doing a concert which he's going to do in honor of her. Emilio Delgado, who played Luis on Sesame Street and has been on Sesame Street for 45 plus years, died at the age of 81 this week. Sponge guitarist Mike Cross died at the age of 57 this week. Former Major League Baseball pitcher Odalis Perez dies after falling off a ladder. He was 44 years old this week. Johnny Greer, the NFL's first black referee, passed away at the age of 74 this week. Laurel Goodwin, Elvis's Girls, Girls, Girls co-star and star of the Star Trek pilot, died at the age of 79, this week. I had it on here twice separately. Johnny Brown, Good Times actor, worked also on Laugh-In, was on Broadway, worked with Sammy Davis Jr. He died at the age of 81 this week as well. Pasha Lu, a actor in a couple of current movies. I can't read my handwriting right now. died in the Ukraine-Russia crisis. The Hobbit and Lion King. That's what he was in. The Hobbit, and he also was one of the voices of the live-action Lion King. He died after quitting acting to join the Ukraine army to protect his country. Died in the Russian insurgents' attack on them. Tim Cursadine, who was the eldest son of Mike Douglas's character on My Three Sons, died this week as well. And the big one, character actor Mitchell Ryan, died this week as well. I got to find his. I'm gonna find his. He apparently wrote a autobiography before he died. It came out last year, called Fall the Sparrow. Fall of Sparrow. There we go. I'm just gonna put that on my list here. Just add it to my cart. There we go. And we'll figure it out later. Mitchell Ryan is a character actor who's been in a ton of TV and movies, did a ton of stuff. Some of his more famous ones where he was in one of the main characters played Greg's dad in Dharma and Greg. That popular TV show was in Lethal Weapon, was in Speechless, was in a lot of movies with Clint Eastwood, including Magnum Force and a few others as well. He was in Dark Shadows, the original TV show. He was 88 years old, is what it was. He was Picard's father in Star Trek because he was in Next Generation. He was supposed to actually play Picard, but then he ended up not getting the role, and or for a reason he couldn't do it or something like that, and he ended up playing Picard's father. So he's still involved in it a little bit. Character actor was in Halloween 6, the Sylvester Stallone Judge Dredd movie, lots and lots of TV shows. He passed away at the age of 88. As I said, he has a memoir called Fall of the Sparrow, which talks about his career, and I just put it on my list. I think it's going to be kind of interesting to read it because character actors are actually really interesting people to read about and take their take on stuff. So that's the deaths we had this week. Halloween Ends, the final Halloween movie, has finished filming. Last week, Jamie Lee Curtis finished her role. Well, the whole entire movie has now finished filming. They are going to release it, is on target to be released this fall. So that's all good after it was delayed a year due to COVID. Batman arrived. The Batman arrives on HBO Max April 19th. So if you want to see, don't want to go to the movie theater to see the Batman and you have HBO Max, wait till April 19th, you'll be able to get it. Speaking of that, Spider-Man No Way Home was supposed to arrive on digital on March 22nd and on Blu-ray like April 12th, something like that. Instead, this weekend, it was leaked early online. So Sony decided that we're going to push up the release date to Tuesday, March 15th, the Ides of March. So those who've been waiting to watch Spider-Man No Way Home that want to go to the movie theaters and can upload it through iTunes or whatever else like that, it should not be showing up on anyone's streaming service yet. This is just the digital stuff you get from iTunes, stuff like that. So you can put that on your computer, play on your computer. That will be dropping on Tuesday, the 15th. In other comics news and actual comic book news, the Gail Simone has, who is one of my favorite writers, is writing a Jessica Jones comic series called The Variants, which is going to take a look at all her different variants that have appeared in the Marvel Universe since she appeared back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Cat falls in love with a Danny DeVito cutout. That's a surprising thing. I did not expect to see that. But yeah, it sleeps with the Danny DeVito cutout. It curls up next to it. It looks at it, paws at it, stuff like that. It's kind of interesting. Psyduck is one of my favorite Pokemon, and he now has a teapot in Japan that is shaped like him. So that's a lot of fun. The Boys, the TV show from Amazon, is having some issues. Last week I talked to you about the lead actor was busted for assault, I think. And then this week The spin-off live action series that they're planning has just lost their 2 leads, the male and female leads, so they have to recast and find that. So, but on top of that, the Boys teaser trailer came out this week. I'm not a Boys fan, so I really didn't mention it, but it did come out this week. So fans of the show, you can check that out for yourself. The big news, which I probably should have put at the beginning of the thing, but a lot of the people who watch the show, stuff like that, don't care about sports ball, but I do. Major League Baseball has been involved in a massive lockout since December 1st. Well, this past Friday, I believe, or Thursday or Friday, I think it was Thursday, the Major League Players Association and the owners came to an agreement to end the lockout. Opening day is now scheduled for April 7th. All 162 games will be played, which means they're going to have to force a couple of double headers onto the schedule. They've also enacted some new rules. There's going to be now 12 playoff teams. The overtime, the extra innings rule that they had put in place where every team has a player start on second base is going to be dropped. Double headers were only going to be 7 innings each to keep them moving and not wear out your players. Well, now it's changed now back to, it's a full game now, 9 innings. So they've got that going on. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff that's been coming out about the various things. The Rule 5 draft will not be happening this year. The actual Major League Baseball draft has been reduced to 20 rounds, I think. So, we'll see what happens. And it's kind of a shame because the Orioles were going to have their first Rule 5 draft. Next year, they're going to start the lottery system when it comes to the draft, which means that teams who have been trying to tank their season to try to get that number 1 draft pick will now have to compete with like 12 other bad teams. And, depending on what your record is, you're going to get a certain amount of votes. So the way that sort of draft is going to work is how basketball does it, the lottery draft. So basically what's going to happen is the team that finishes with the worst record will get, like, say, 19 votes or passes in the little spinny ball thing that they pick out who's going to get the number 1 pick. The second worst team might get 18 or 17 of those things. And then the next one gets 16, and it goes down to where like the last one gets maybe 2 votes into their thing. So you spin it around and then you reach in and whoever you pull out is going to be the number 1 draft pick. And I guess they do that for all. The number 2 is going to be this, number 3 is going to be this, number 4. I don't know how that quite works. But baseball is back, so fans of baseball, rejoice. Spring training probably started today, I think. They're going to still have games, stuff like that, but it just seems odd to have a less than a month long spring training, since spring training was supposed to start back in February, and it's usually about a 2-month long window. Now they've reduced it to 1 month long. How it's going to affect stuff, so we'll see what happens. But April 7th is when opening day starts. Now, it kind of sucks for the Orioles because we were going to, for the first time in like 4 or 5 years, we were going to have the baseball season opener. When all the teams have their opening day for baseball in general, the Orioles were going to have a home game. They haven't had a home game on actual opening day for a long time. So, but now that's moot because April 7th, they're going to start with the schedule they've already put in place. Whatever team they're playing, then that's going to be there. And that was an away team. So the Orioles don't actually have their first home game till the 15th of April, which is against the Yankees. So there's that. Some really interesting news for history people anyway. Those people might know that the story about the HMS Endurance, a ship that was run by Shackleton, and it got famous for got trapped in the Antarctic ice, and the majority of the crew passed away, died on the trip, and the ship was just lost to history or whatever. Well, this week, after close to 100 years being missing, they have discovered the Shackleton underwater, or I'm sorry, the HMS Endurance, underwater in the Antarctic, pretty well preserved. So it should be interesting for historians to look at it. I don't know if they're going to try to raise it, if that would be a good idea, or to keep it in the ice and have divers go down in the freezing water. Probably won't be anytime soon because Antarctic winter is fast approaching, and it gets extraordinarily dark like for months, and the temperature almost gets to be as cold as on Mars, negative 60s degrees and stuff like that. So keep an eye on that stuff as well. So it's kind of interesting. There's also was another ship, a sunken boat that was found not this week, but a while ago, called the Britannic. It is now was lost for over a century. Also, it's been discovered. It says so now. The people who are been looking at it and checking it out say it is now open for divers to go and take a look at it. So if you are interested, you can go ahead and do that. I'm not exactly sure where the Britannic is, but if you wanted to do that, go for it. The Mcflurry, McDonald's is testing a chocolatey caramel pretzel McFlurry at some of their shops to see how well it does before they open it wide. They do a beta testing like everything else does, so that's kind of cool. We'll see what happens about that. I've never heard of this, a champagne pina colada. I don't know if I would even want to try a champagne pina colada, but here we are. But it is a thing, and there we are. Some Maryland news. Maryland is on pace to become the second state in the United States to ban declawing cats, which I think is outstanding. For those who might have known me and knew that I had a declawed cat, I did not declaw the cat. The cat was a stray rescue that my first stepmother found for us since we needed a new cat after ours got hit by a car. And my first stepmom, Marianne, she found a cat on the side of the road, and it had been declawed, and that she knew we needed to have a cat, wanted a cat, so she gave it to us, and it became Gracie, and she lived for a long time, and she was a good girl, and we let her out periodically, but we didn't let her out and be an outdoor cat like we did our first cat, Gypsy. Because she had her claws and everything like that. We let her out, and she was an outdoor kitty, but came in and spent time inside with us as well. But she spent a lot of time outside and got into some fights and got injured pretty badly a few times. So, it was always wild when during the summer, I would have my window open. It'd be like 3 a.m, and I would hear Gypsy get into a fight with another cat, and I'd have to run outside at 3 a.m. to try to find her and get her back in the house so she wouldn't get hurt. So that was always kind of interesting. But no, Gracie was declawed, but we did not declaw her. That's how she was found, and we took care of her and loved her and let her go out under our watch. And she just stayed around in the front yard. But we, when it was time to come back in, we had her come back in, and she had a good life, I think. Harbor Place is unfortunately falling apart. It was, Harbor Place has kind of had an interesting history. The area around the Inner Harbor was just an awful wreck all the way through the 70s until Mayor William Donald Schaefer came in and said, we need to do something to build up tourism and get some people to come down here to the Inner Harbor. So they cleaned it all up a little bit. They built museums. They built shops. They built the Harbor Place, which was a destination shopping area for the longest time in the 80s. Built the National Aquarium and power plants and stuff like that. And the Harbor Place had been very successful for a long period of time, but as over the 20, 30 plus years it's been in business, it's slowly been going away. Been there a couple of years ago. So that's the last time I really was there, and it's really gone downhill since then. It used to be such an amazing place, and it's still a really good idea, but it's just with COVID and all kinds of stuff going on, and it's really hard to, I guess, keep it up and running. But they just lost a major anchor shop, so Harbor Place is now dying a slow death again, and we need to have someone go down there and try to figure out how we're going to save the Inner Harbor. So we'll see what happens about that. The Princess Bride official cookbook is now out, so fans of the Princess Bride and like the cooking, you can now get a cookbook. Christopher Abbott joins the Kraven the Hunter cast as the villain called the Foreigner. I might have mentioned his name last week, but I finally got that he is going to be playing a character called the Foreigner. The CW's Gotham Knights TV show pilot, which is supposed to come out No, it's a pilot right now. The video game's coming out in the fall. But a Gotham Knights pilot, which is a show set in Gotham where there's no Batman, and it's his like whole family is working on it. Has cast 2 new people this week. The character of Harper Row, who was a character created by Scott Snyder, and her brother have been cast. I don't know who the actors are. I don't recognize them. His brother Cullen. And it goes along with the casting of Duella Dent and the Carrie, I forget her last name, the female Robin from Dark Knight Returns has been cast as well. So it's going in a kind of weird direction, but interesting at the same time. The first look at the National Treasure TV show on Disney Plus shows the cast in prison. So somehow they're either from their exploration for their national treasure, they get in jail, or they start off in jail and get released to find this thing, or it's they're posing for a picture in a historic jail cell to help them find the treasure. So it could be one of anything, but the first picture showed up and it got you thinking, I wonder what this is all about. Super Nintendo World will be opening in 2023 in the United States. I've heard stuff. I think it's going to be down in that Florida area where, the Harry Potter World is and Disney World is and Universal is. I think it's going to be in that general area. So that'll be coming out really soon. St. Patrick's Day, as I said, is coming Thursday, and Krispy Kreme's has their St. Patrick's Day donut collection available now in 12 different not 12, but like 6 different sort of St. Patrick's Day style donuts. Makes it exciting. Orange vanilla cream M&Ms is a thing, apparently. I did not know that was a thing, but that is delicious. Creamsicles are outstanding. A outdoor cabana day bed can turn into a lazy spot with multiple chairs and tables. So you can go from a bed outside to a lounge area with friends. Rooster and hen egg-covered egg hauler aprons are now things. So people who have chickens and need a way to get the eggs from the chickens from the chicken coop to your house now has an apron that's been created that has pockets for the eggs to keep them protected and hopefully that they don't fall and break. So it's a good thing. Desean Watson, the embattled quarterback for the Houston Texans, has been found there's not enough to go on to bring about criminal charges to him due to his sexual issues with massage people. So grand jury found that he is fairly innocent. It doesn't mean that he's not going to get in trouble with the NFL, and he's also not going to get in trouble with civil suits. But right now, his case will not go to court, will not be a big court case with him potentially to go to jail. The worst is probably going to happen to him now is he's going to be suspended maybe 6 games, might be dropped down to 4 depending on things. And also, he still has the civil suits coming up by the women who claim that they sexually not assaulted him, but sexually that he sexually degraded them or something. I'm not exactly sure the whole stuff behind it. They could still get him for a bunch of stuff. So his stuff isn't over, but he's not going to go to jail for this. So right now, because of that, the NFL free agent market, their new season starts in a couple of weeks. Or it might even be sooner than that because there's all kinds of stuff happening, which I'll get into later. Actually, I'll get into next. No, I'll get into it later. It's on the next page. So a lot of free agent stuff. So there's a lot of teams right now that are showing interest in him to be their quarterback. He doesn't want to be in Houston anymore. So we'll see how that goes. Alligator Loki from the Loki TV show will be getting his own comic book series. Everybody likes it, so why not do that? Josh Peck of the Drake and Josh show has joined the forever expanding cast of Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer film. So he's another one of the massive amounts. There's like 21 big actors in this film. So are famous-ish kind of actors. Dune 2 casting heats up. Austin Butler and Florence Pugh are eyed for roles in the sequel that is going to start filming in the summer. Joaquin Phoenix apparently has been cast as Napoleon. I guess I kind of knew that, but he's apparently making the film right now. The first photos of him as Napoleon have surfaced, and as expected, it looks really good. So that might be an interesting film to check out. This is hella surprising. Ivan Reitman, who just passed away recently, apparently had a Batman and Robin movie he wanted to make, but he wanted to cast Bill Murray and Eddie Murphy in it. Now, the reason why it never got made is because neither of them wanted to play Robin. So, in the end, the film did get made, but that's another what-if scenario. Is like, what if, that happened? What if that movie came to fruition? How would that look? How would that have changed the perspective of Batman to have two comedians play him in an Ivan Reitman movie? We'll never know, but that's what could have been, It's a what could have been sort of scenario. What is it? Imitation is the most sincerest form of flattery, and once you have something successful, imitations are going to start rolling out the wazoo, and that's showing itself again. Yellowstone apparently is one of the hottest shows on TV right now. It's a present day Western. Kevin Costner is in the cast of the show about a guy who runs I guess a farm or something like that outside of Yellowstone National Park, and gets involved with like drug runners and stuff like that. It's an action, Breaking Bad sort of thing, but in the wilderness around the Yellowstone. It's got its own spinoffs coming of Sam Elliott's in one about how the Yellowstone, this farm got settled, and there's another spinoff I think coming on the line from Yellowstone as well. It's from Paramount Plus, so it's doing really well. So Amazon decided they want to do their own version of Yellowstone. So they got Josh Brolin, who played Thanos, to come in and do a show called Outer Range, which takes place in a similar area and is a similar sort of story idea with a guy who runs a farm having to deal with criminals and stuff like that. First trailer for that came out, and I don't have Paramount Plus, so I don't watch Yellowstone, and honestly, it really doesn't look all that interesting to me. It just doesn't. I'm not into that type of thing. Neither does this, but I figured I'd check it out and mention it on the show. Google Auto Draw is a thing where it can turn your rough drawings into actual icons that look really good. So that's kind of cool. See that happens, and you can use them for emojis or whatever. A young boy purchases a painting for $2 that he saw at some sort of swap meet or something like that. Thought it was really cool looking and wanted to have it for $2. Decided to go to Antiques Roadshow just to see, how much it might be worth, and the history behind it, whatever. And the guy who he gave it to, asked the kid, what do you think it would cost? He's like, well, how much you could sell for it? And he's like, I don't know, $150, something like that. And the guy was like, hey, you're way off. It's more like $1,500, $1,000 to $1,500. You could probably sell at auction for that, right? And give a little bit of history about it. It's a Dutch artist who liked to use watercolors and stuff like that. So the young boy was, of course, surprised by this. And I think that was a really kind of a neat little story. You always see that kind of thing as well. 80-year-old Patriots owner Robert Kraft, who got into a little trouble with his massage parlor incidents as well, apparently has been dating this woman since 2019 and is getting married to her. She happens to be almost 2 years younger than me. She's 47 years old. Again, I'm not going to say anything, but I'm just saying. Because of the success of the Batman movie, the Colin Farrell's version of the Penguin is getting his own HBO Max TV show that has officially been announced after the Batman's huge opening weekend. And also a Arkham Asylum series, and I might have mentioned that last week, has also been greenlit for HBO Max as well, set in the same Batman universe, Robert Pattinson Batman universe. So, looking forward to those. If you're a big fan of that stuff, well, there you go. The Wonka prequel with what's his name, Timothy Chalamet, Had some first photos of it leaked last week. Well, the movie ain't out and won't be out till December 2023. So you still got ways to go for that. But, that was announced this week as well. Meg 2, The Trench with Jason Statham, the sequel to the surprising summer blockbuster, is getting a summer 2023 release. So again, film companies are still taking their time getting movies out. I've heard a lot of stuff about these movies. A lot of them seem like already done, but I guess they just want to make sure that everything is covered and copacetic and stuff like that. Okay, I got it. So along those same notes, because of COVID and special effects and all kinds of stuff, Warner Brothers has announced they are changing the dates of 5 of their superhero comic book movies. Now, Marvel had to do a little bit of rearranging back in 2020, 2021, but they pretty much are said as that these are the movies that are going to be coming out this year. And in fact, DC made a big announcement at the beginning of the year saying, this is the year of us. We've got 4 movies coming out, 5 if you count this other one, And it's going to be a huge, actually, it's only 4. It's going to be a huge year for DC's comic, movie universe. And Fate decided to say, nope, not going to happen. Now, the one big thing is Doctor Strange was moved this year to May, and they have had to shuttle a few things around, and that's due to the Black Panther stuff. But this is something else entirely. But Marvel's pretty much set with they're still going to release a bunch of films out there. So now throughout there's going to be conspiracy theory stuff like that. But the main reason that these movies are being pushed around is due to COVID and still people not going en masse to movie theaters, despite the fact that a comic book movie in Spider-Man made a shit ton of money. A comic book movie in Batman has made a shit ton of money, and that people will go to movie theaters to see comic book movies. So you figure if you would have kept these comic book movies in their times, it would make the money regardless of COVID stuff. But the rumor is right now that it's not because of that. It's because of special effects taking up some time. Maybe they're doing some reshoots because they saw how successful No Way Home is. Like, oh, let's do this instead. So that leads us to this. The first one, which is kind of odd, is the animated film Superhero Pets. It was originally scheduled to come out on May 20th of this year. And one other interesting story about the Superhero Pets movie, the first trailer came out. The Rock is voicing Superman, or not Superman, is voicing his dog, Crypto, because it's about the Super Pets. They reveal once they change the date of the movie that Keanu Reeves will be voicing Batman. And who's the... I always get him mixed up. I always get him mixed up. The guy who's worked with I'll get it right here. I always get Kevin Hart's name wrong. Kevin Hart is voicing Ace the Bat Hound. And Batman will be voiced by Keanu Reeves. So Keanu Reeves actually is voicing Batman. And I saw the trailer with with Keanu Reeves' Batman. It's freaking hilarious. So I thought, it's an animated movie. Why are you shifting it from May 20th to July 29th? It didn't make a lot of sense to me because May 20th would probably be the best time. If you want to shift it, maybe shift it to June, a window when summer started. But I guess maybe you figured May 20th, school's still in session, blah, blah, blah. If we move it to July 29th, maybe we'll get more people with school is out. And it's right before August where the film's industry sort of goes downhill. And they might have the stuff themselves. They might make money. I don't know. But in the end, I think the move of Super Pets movie from May 20th to July 29th is not great. Doctor Strange comes out on the 6th, so that's the 6th and the 13th. It has 2 weeks to get the money it's going to make. So they're afraid that Doctor Strange was going to wreck it. By the time we got to the 20th, most people who wanted to see it probably have seen it, and it's going to be top heavy with the money, and so it'll start drifting away by then. I think you'd be able to jump in and say, "Hey, come watch our movie now." Doctor Strange is you've seen that. The Black Adam movie with The Rock was scheduled to be on that July 29th. It has now been shifted to October 21st, which is fine. But there's a theory going around about the reason for that, and I'll get to that in a second. The Flash movie that was scheduled to be out on November 4th is now being shifted to June 23rd, 2023. In that case, they probably might be, because they saw the success of No Way Home, they're probably going to try to throw a bunch of other stuff into their multiverse of madness sort of thing, because it's a movie about the multiverse as well. But for the fans of the Snyderverse bros, who I cannot stand, and you've seen me go off on them before, who are screaming that, Spider-Man No Way Home and Doctor Strange are stealing the thunder of the Flash doing their Flashpoint with multiple Batmans and Michael Keaton coming back as Batman, and Ben Affleck's supposed to be making an appearance as well, that Marvel was ripping them off. Well, let's take a look at that. Spider-Man No Way Home came out December 2021. And Doctor Strange is coming out in May 2022. Oh, and The Flash is coming out in June 2023. And before that, it was coming out in November 2022. So, what's the difference? No Way Home and Doctor Strange are effects-heavy movies, and yet they came out before The Flash. Oh my God. Maybe it's the way the world is. And if anybody who's read comics understands, Marvel and DC do this all the freaking time. In the comics world, they announce a big, event, and then the other company does one that's similar, and they create a character, and then the other one does one that's similar to it, and back and forth. It's something that happens all the time. But the fact that people are screaming that Marvel is stealing the Flash's idea of the multiverse is ridiculous. Yes, the idea for the Flash multiverse movie might have come out before the idea for the Spider-Man No Way Home and Doctor Strange, but I don't think it did. I think it came out around the same time. Again, as I said, that's what happens in the comics world. They do one thing, and the DC or Marvel does the opposite. So if Marvel does a big thing, DC is going to do a big thing, and it's very similar. A good example is, and I always joke with this with my friend Corey, we worked at Diamond. Marvel did, it was actually DC came out with Identity Crisis, which was a story where the parents and loved ones of superheroes were getting murdered. And they needed to figure, so that means that their identities have somehow been compromised by this villain who's going around killing their family members. So they have fear of that happening. There's a lot more that goes into that, but that's the main storyline on that. Marvel decided they want to do their own thing called Identity. Identity Disc. That's what it was. Identity Disc. And basically, they took The Usual Suspects, the story about, a bunch of different villains put together for one big heist to as I said, do one big heist. And that was it. So they put different villains together to do one big heist of this disc that this evil corporation somehow has of every superhero's secret identity. They were going to steal it and sell it to the highest bidder. First of all, how did they get all the secret identities? And second, why is this company not using it to their advantage? In the end, it was called Identity Disc and Identity Crisis, and it came out at the same time. And then DC did something similar. DC did a big game-changing sort of thing, and Marvel swooped in and did one of their big game-changing things. So it's something that happens all the time. But to the Snyder Bros that said that Marvel is stealing the idea of the multiverse from the Flash, get your facts straight. No. So, Flash is moving from November 4th to June 23rd, 2023. Aquaman 2 is moving from December 16th, 2022 to March 17th, 2023. Oh, okay, so it's good. They're going to open Aquaman 2 on St. Patrick's Day next year. Hey, 1 year from this week, we're going to get Aquaman 2. Again, I've never been a big fan of the Aquaman casting. I like Jason Momoa as an actor personally, but I think that his casting as Aquaman is wrong, but that's just me. But no, it's one of these things that the more I look at it, the more I think about it, maybe it's not as bad as people know, or as myself, I should say, not people, but there are people who don't like it, but myself don't like it. Maybe I should check out the Aquaman movie. I'm not going to check out the Snyderverse stuff because you know my issues with that. But he's been moved from December 16th, 2022 to March 17th, 2023. So we're going to get to see him sooner than later as well. And then finally, this is the big surprise of all this, Shazam 2, which was due to come out on June 2nd, 2023, has now been moved up to December 16th, 2022, which is unusual. So the Shazam movie, I guess they finished filming it quicker. The effects are not as intense, and they got them done enough time. They're going to be able to release it this year. So they're still going to have a third movie release this year. Now, the one conspiracy theory, it's not really a conspiracy theory, it's more of a theory, a screen theory about this is Black Adam, the movie with The Rock in it, is connected to the Shazam family. But supposedly in the original movie idea, Shazam was not going to be involved at all. And instead, the Justice Society is involved. I've seen pictures of Pierce Brosnan. Dr. Fate looks awesome. They've got Aldous Hodge as Hawkman, which should look pretty cool. And they've got a bunch of other characters from JSA, which I love. It's great. So they're going to be in this Black Adam because Black Adam has always been sort of intertwined with the JSA. He's also been intertwined more directly with the Shazam family. And the fact that you're releasing the Black Adam movie October 21st and the Shazam movie December 16th, about a 2-month window, leads us, a lot of people, to believe that the possibility of a crossover might be even better now because Black Adam belongs in the Shazam universe. So maybe one way or another, Shazam's going to make an appearance in Black Adam, and then Black Adam's going to return the favor and show up in Shazam 2. Again, these are theories, but the fact is to move the movie from June 2nd, 2023 to 6 months earlier to December 16th, 2022, that means there's something else going on. One, that the filmmaker was very efficient, got their stuff done, not a lot of visual effects, and they were able to get it done. Whereas I guess Aquaman and The Flash have a lot of visual effects. Shazam, surprisingly, might not have a lot of visual effects. So to move that up 6 months is surprising, but the fact that you moved Black Adam back by about 6 months, let's see, July, August, by about 3 months, I should say, 3-4 months, to get close enough to the Shazam movie makes people go, there could be something to that. And that might actually be an absolutely brilliant idea if that's what it turns out to be. I think it would be a brilliant idea personally. So we got that going on. So we'll see. We got time, and we'll find out. Hannah Jones Cannon, I guess, who played Ghost in the Ant-Man and the Wasp, she had been cast as Red Sonja in a Red Sonja movie. She has dropped out of the cast, so the Red Sonja movie is now back in search of a leading actress. Nothing has been told to us why she exited, and it's not really any of our business, so it doesn't matter. I guess I've been working. Yeah, I started too. I guess Ernie Hudson has been cast in the Owl role in the new Quantum Leap update. So it's good to see Ernie Hudson, he of Ghostbusters, Winston Zeddemore fame. Will Forte and Lara Counselor, whatever, will be joining John Cena in the live-action animated Coyote vs. Acme movie. So they're going to be involved in that as well. This summer, the Orange Crush comes to Bomb Pops. Bomb Pops are those multicolored, multi-flavored ice pops you get during the summer. Mostly are red, white, and blue. That you get from ice cream trucks and stuff like that. Well, now you have an Orange Crush one that's going to have 3 different flavors of Orange Crush, Grape Crush, and I forget what the other one is, but there, you got that coming up soon. Marshmallow Cocoa Pebbles is a thing now, which might be pretty good. Don't know, couldn't tell you. I like Cocoa Pebbles, but Marshmallow Cocoa Pebbles, who knows? I guess Count Chocula has chocolatey marshmallows to go with this chocolate syrup, so they might be doing something similar. Strawberry ice cream cone Hershey's Kisses are going to be coming out this summer. That just sounds weird. So after St. Patrick's Day, the next thing we got coming is Easter. So Peeps continue to be the epitome of Easter stuff. You can now get a Peeps cupcake kit, cookie kit, and a cake mix all together now, and you can make them in shapes of Peeps and have them marshmallows added to the stuff like that. Also, speaking of Peeps, I have that on a different page. The hot tamale fierce cinnamon Peeps are a new flavor of Peeps coming out just in time for Easter. So got that coming up good. The first look at Tom Hanks and Robert Zemeckis' Geppetto, his live-action version of Pinocchio, makes its way online. It looks good as always. Pinocchio looks really, really good. And Tom Hanks looks like Geppetto, so it should be interesting to see that. In fact, that Zemeckis is directing it, and it'll be out around Christmas time. Should be, we'll see what happens. Sugar Cookie Toast Crunch. Bar treats are a thing now. Sugar Cookie Toast Crunch is one that usually only comes out around Christmas holidays, but now you can now get it in a bar format and enjoy that. Oreos are back. They haven't had a new flavor in a while, but now they do. They have mocha, caramel, mocha, caramel, coffee sort of flavor. Oreo ones are going to be rolling through here really soon. Can't tell what that says. So let's see what else we got here. There was a new trailer for the unheralded weight of. Oh God, what is this? Can't read my damn writing. Let me just check. Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent with Nicolas Cage. New trailer came out for that, where he plays himself, and Neil Patrick Harris plays his agent. And the movie is about him getting a request from his agent to visit an island to meet up with a gentleman who's played by Pedro Pascal, who is the world's biggest Nicolas Cage fan and wants him to, hang out with him. So he does, and becomes BFFs with him and enjoys his time with this guy, and they become best friends. And one night, Nicolas Cage, I guess, is walking out at night or whatever, and he gets abducted by two federal agents, one played by Tiffany Haddish. I don't know who the other actor is. And they tell him that his new friend that he's been hanging out with is a massive terrorist / drug dealer, and they want to use Nicolas Cage as put a wire on him and have him go and get this stuff on Pedro Pascal's character and bust him. But he's hesitant to do it because it's his friend, but he also knows he needs to do it because it's the right thing to do, blah blah blah. So I didn't quite understand what it was about till I went and looked at the trailer, and I was like, oh, okay, this is actually kind of funny. Looks pretty good. So Unbearable Weight of what is it again? The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. That's what it is. So it looks like he's having a good time making the film, so go for it. Back in the real world, a hijacking was feared on an airplane due to a child's dropping a airdrop prank. I guess it was one of the things where, airdrop is something you put like photos and stuff like that in, and he put it on there, and it got connected to everybody in the airport, and they thought the airplane had been hijacked. I'm not exactly sure the whole story, but the fact is it was a young kid who did that as a prank and get in trouble for it. As he should have. Man dies after a colleague in a bulldozer accidentally runs him over while in a porta potty. Now, he didn't know his friend was in the porta potty, and the bulldozer runs over the porta potty. I guess it lost control or whatever, end up crushing the person inside the porta potty. So that's not dying is never great, but that's not a great way to die. Tony Hawk suffered a serious leg injury while doing a stunt on his skateboard. So hopefully he'll be okay, but he is getting older and it might be harder for him to recover. But we'll find out. Parts of Walt Disney World flooded after a severe storm rolled through there. So it was interesting. It was at night. So it's interesting to see people walking at Disney World at night after the storm came through, and there's lots of water rolling down the sidewalks of Disney World. I guess that happens, though. A giant owl not seen in 150 years in public has been photographed for the first time ever. So it's good to see them coming back as well. In ideas I wish I had, the Sharkula trailer made its debut this week. It's another B movie that, if sci-fi was still doing them, would probably show up eventually on there. But basically, is Dracula curses a shark into turning him into a vampire shark. And it's just one of the things that it's so obvious and it's such a great idea. And the fact that nobody has done it before now is amazing. You thought Sharknadoes were interesting. Check out Sharkula. According to a pundit, PlayStation is doomed and won't exist as we know it in about a decade. So members, fans of PlayStation, get your playing time in, because it's going to be completely different here in a decade and will not be the PlayStation you know and love. And I don't know if I agree with that. Shamrock-shaped waffle maker in time for St. Patrick's Day has made its way out into the world. I don't know what this says. A ghost boat containing $80 million worth of cocaine wipes up onto remote beach island, an island somewhere, a remote island. A nobody on board the boat and had $80 million worth of cocaine on board. Interesting. Man, what am I doing here? New Doctor Who season has started filming, according to Russell T Davies, the new producer of it. I'm still trying to figure that one out. Netflix wants to make a Roald Dahl extended universe like the MCU. They've gotten the rights. I talked about this a while back. They've gotten the rights to make movies, TV shows, whatever, based on Roald Dahl's books. They've got one in the works right now, which is Matilda the musical, and they've got another one they're working on. I don't know what it is, top of my head, but one of his books. But they have the rights to make stories about all his stuff. Well, what they want to do now is they want to make a extended universe of Roald Dahl characters and stories, but use all genres of stuff: live action, animated, TV shows, musicals, stuff like that, but have it all connected in one big extended universe. So it'll probably work itself out and probably be a pretty good idea. So we will see what happens. It's never too early to start talking about fall and fall holidays. A Thanksgiving movie that stars friend of the show, Allison Victoria, has just finished filming, and it's unfortunately had to change its name to the unfortunate title Fowl Play, Fowl Play. I think it was originally called Thanksgiving Day or something like that, but it had to change its date to something else. I don't know where it's going to air or whatever, but it's I guess it's a dark comedy film about family at Thanksgiving. And Allison Vick, who is a friend of the show when we worked with Snark Alc Radio, we had her on Snark Alc Radio a bunch of times and interviewed her and talked to her and stuff like that. She made this film, so it should be good. Chick-fil-A has a butterscotch crunch milkshake that has Blondie pieces, which is a great butterscotch sort of plain brownie thing that's not really has any chocolate in it. Cadbury Cream Eggs have Cadbury Cream Egg cookies now. I think they came out last year, but they are coming back this year. But if they didn't come out last year, well, they're out now. Also, something that is kind of connected to St. Patrick's Day a little bit, but Swiss Miss has a Lucky Charms hot chocolate mix now, which includes the marshmallows from Lucky Charms in their hot chocolate. So that's out there, out and about now. God of War TV show is in the works. I think at Amazon Prime, they've really upped the ante with video game shows. Expecting the one show coming up with Master Chief is going to be hugely popular. So the thing of that's going to be, they're preemptively getting these TV shows. This is like the third or fourth video game show that has been put in the works right now. Captain Crunch Berry-tastic Pancake Mix and Ocean Blue Maple Syrup are now a thing that you can combine both to make a lovely breakfast. A super rare German cannon found in Canadian pitcher's mound. I guess they were digging up the baseball field and they discovered a rare German cannon in a Canadian baseball mound. Okay. Oh my God, what is with? I can't read this one either. A final episode of The Walking Dead has started filming this week, so we're going to be now seeing that soon. And on that note, Laurie Cohen, who plays Maggie, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who plays Negan, and remember Negan killed Maggie's husband, are going to be starring in a spinoff series, the third spinoff series of The Walking Dead, called Isle of the Dead. This one actually looks kind of interesting. You have Maggie and Negan teaming up to go back to, I guess, New York or Atlanta or one of those places where I guess it's Isle, so it'd be New York, go to New York and have to fight their way through New York City's zombies infestation. So it looks like it'd be a bit more of an action-packed one. You also supposedly have the Daryl and Carol spinoff coming up, and also the one that the Tales of the Walking Dead that I've given you the cast members for, like that. So you got a bunch of stuff. So even though Walking Dead is starting filming their final episode of the series, you're going to have plenty of Walking Dead material to keep you busy. Arizona Iced Tea now has fruit snacks. So if you are inclined and want to have fruit snacks that taste like your favorite Arizona Iced Teas, you now can get them. REM's final album appeared in 2011 during this week. So that was the last time they were really part of the band. So it's been almost 11 years now since they have been broken up. Not one of my favorites, but Uberlin's a fantastic song. And so it's an anniversary sort of thing for this week. Football news, a lot of it. Aaron Rodgers signs a 4-year deal to stay with the Green Bay Packers. Russell Wilson, the stud quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks, has been traded to the Denver Broncos. And Carson Wentz, who was on the Colts and also led the Eagles to a Super Bowl win, has been signed by the Washington Commanders as their quarterback, which is a shame because I like Taylor Heineke, and I think he would be an excellent starting quarterback for them. But you bring Carson Wentz in, but you keep Taylor as the backup, I guess. And if Carson Wentz self-destructs like he did in Indianapolis, you bring in Heineke, and you keep things going strong with that. Calvin Ridley, I'm still trying to wrap my head around this story, but Calvin Ridley, who was a member of the Atlanta Falcons, I think he's a wide receiver, was injured on injured reserve, wasn't playing, and being on injured. I don't know if he was part of the 40-man. I mean, he's still getting paid, I guess, by Atlanta, but he wasn't playing. Got suspended for the whole year by the NFL for betting on football games, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. He wasn't actually playing in football games, and it was multiple games and not just his game. So now it might be a little bit more understandable if he was playing as part of the Falcons and he he bet on the game of the Falcons because he could change the outcome if need be. To win his bet, but he wasn't playing, and he's not going to his teammates. So you gotta, screw up so I can win this bet. No, he was just making bets. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that, but he's been. Well, that's what it is. There's an owl. It's a giant owl wing. Oh, angel wings. Okay. Giant angel wings pool floats is a thing now, so that when you're floating in the pool on this float, you have angel's wings. Snoop Dogg greets children in giant giraffe costume for his granddaughter's birthday party. Snoop Dogg being a grandfather is interesting, intriguing. Electric Mayhem series is coming to Disney Plus. The Electric Mayhem is the band that has Animal and Dr. Teeth and stuff like that. So they're going to be making a TV show for Disney Plus with those Muppets. So that could be an intriguing show at that. The trailer for DMZ, based on the DC Comics Vertigo series, has made its way out there as well. It's basically about, it's like Escape from New York. It's a demilitarized zone in New York City, so it's just going to be one of these post-apocalyptic sort of military, takeover things. The Predator prequel has been confirmed to be set in the year 1719, which should be interesting to see how settlers in 1719 take on a massive hunting alien from outer space. Should be interesting to see that. Goldfish Baby Yoda is a thing. So apparently there's a goldfish collection that looks like Baby Yoda. Netflix has an animated film from Richard Linklater, who did the Before trilogy, called Apollo 10.5, which, what I gather from the trailer, is about a 10.5-year-old boy who gets chosen by NASA for a secret mission to test the moon lander before Neil Armstrong lands on the moon. I think that's the premise of it. It's keeping a lot to the vest, but it's done in the rotoscope animated style that Linklater did for either Waking Life or Living Life. I forget the name of the movie he did, which was done with that rotoscope sort of style. It looks really good, actually, and it's going to be on Netflix on April 1st. So I think I'm going to pop that in and check that out. But it looks very intriguing, and I like it. It looks interesting, and I like to know what the story behind it, if it's a real story or if it was just made. I don't know. So it should be a intriguing one to look at. Oh. Blow out candles. That's the last thing I was having trouble with. You can now, because of COVID, people haven't been blowing out their candles because they're afraid that when you blow it out, you have some spit particles that come out and get onto the cookie or like the cake. And if you have COVID, people eat it, they'll ingest your COVID and they'll get COVID, that sort of thing. So they haven't been doing, candles. Like our work used to do that for everybody's birthday, but now we haven't done that for about 2 years now. But now you have a special like fan sort of thing that you can use now that, you blow in there and it'll trap the spit or whatever, but it'll spin the fan, which will blow out your candles if you blow it properly. So that's a new item to look at. This was just done in poor taste. This is the last Batman story I'm going to do because I've only got 2 stories left in this episode. The last Batman story I have for this week, some asshole in Texas. That's kind of redundant because most people in Texas are assholes. Not everybody, but a lot of them are, because of that state is absolutely fucking politically backward. But that's besides the point. We're not going to get into that. But some asshole in Texas decided that he was going to release a live bat into a theater during the screening of the Batman movie. Now, that's just done in poor taste because if you recall, the Dark Knight Rises movie, the last one in the Nolan trilogy, was hit with tragedy on its preview night, the Thursday night before it actually came out that Friday, when a gunman in Colorado came in and shot up a movie theater full of people, killing like 18 people in the movie theater. And he claimed to be the Joker. He had it, and when he was in court, he had his hair all done up like the Joker, greens and oranges and stuff like that, and claimed to be the Joker. And he was doing all this stuff. It was a horrific story. And that was almost 11 years ago, I guess, 10 years ago, something like that. So to have this happen. Now, granted, it's not the same situation. It's not a gun, but a wild animal and a bat. And remember, bats can carry rabies. To release a bat freaking out people in a movie theater just because you're an asshole. I mean, why would you do something like that? It's simple, because you're a fucking asshole. To release a live bat into a theater. The bat's freaking out. He doesn't know what's going on. And he's going to fight on. He's going to start hitting people and stuff like that. And I said they also carry rabies also. It was a very done, poor taste, not a funny prank at all. And I'm hoping this asshole gets, busted and takes into his law. But it wasn't Texas, so probably not be hailed as a hero, probably, because Texas is fucking awful. Just about as awful as fucking Florida is. So that's besides the point. Finally, the last story we're going to work on this week, or talk about this week, is something that you can start talking about if you want to with your significant other. But a wife wants her husband to pay her $50,000 to have kids with him. Now, they're married, and that's what I guess, when you get married, not always the case, but a lot of the expectations that, you have, and hopefully you would have this discussion before you got married, is what do you want out of the relationship? When we get married, do you want to have kids? Do you not want to have kids? Do you want to live in a big house, small house? Where do you want to live? What do you want to do for a living? What holidays should we go to each other's in-laws' house? Stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff you have to work out before you get married. But one of the major things, the biggest thing is, if you want children. Now, if there's a disconnect where if one wants kids and the other doesn't, well, that's going to be an issue in your marriage. And oftentimes that is the case a lot of times for divorces and separations and stuff like that. But that's the type of thing you need to do before you get married. Now, with this idea that a woman is asking her husband to pay her $50,000 to have a kid. Now, you can make a case, I guess you could, for both ways, because the woman is the one who's going to go through the most changes. Her body is going to completely change. She's growing an entire human being inside her body for 9 months. She's going to be in a lot of pain. She's going to have a lot of issues. She's got to have a lot of worries. She's not going to be able to do a lot of stuff. And you're going to have to sort of step up and help out. And then when the baby comes, it changes everything inside and outside, and, they have to go through postpartum, and then they have to, feed the baby with the breast milk. And that gets painful from what I've heard as well, tender, stuff like that. And just all kinds of crazy stuff that they have to go through, where the male just sort of has to just, should help out in any way he can. And I like to think that I did that over the birth of my 2 kids. My wife and I are still together, so obviously I must have done something okay. But yeah, I think Ryan Reynolds made the best case. He said this woman just birthed a complete human pushed a complete human out of her body. The least you can do is change some diapers, that type of thing. So, and that's like, but then he's like, no, I can understand. It's like, my body, my whole life is going to change. Ours is going to change because we're going to be mother and father, but your body doesn't change. Mine does, and, all this stuff is happening to me, and it's going to cause issues for me for the rest of my life. The benefits outweigh the pain, because you wanted to do this, you wanted to have kids, and you're extraordinarily happy with, but your body does not recover from something like this, because it is a real human being being born out of the body. It's something I experienced that I'm never going to be able to understand because I'm male. So in that case, it kind of makes sense. Like, look, my whole life is going to change. My body's going to change, stuff like that, kind of pay me, $50,000 to, be the one, to give me a benefit besides being a mother, to give birth to a baby. But then on the flip side, it's like, well, you knew what was going to happen going into wanting to have kids. You knew this stuff was going to change you, but you decided that the wanting of kids outweighed the changing of your body. So you guys decided to do it. So it's something that you can discuss back and forth, and there's probably cases you can make for both sides. I'm not going to weigh in on what my beliefs are, but I just figured it'd be a good way to end this episode. So a lot of stuff happened this week. As I said, next week is a big week. Date-wise, St. Patrick's coming out. That's why I'm wearing my St. Patrick's Day today, because by the time we do this for next week, it's not going to be St. Patrick's Day anymore. It's going to be springtime, and I will be by myself, barring any situations that come up. So we will see you then. It's going to get warmer. We just had snow. It's going to get warmer. I'm going to get something to eat, and I'm going to have to go out and clean off my car. So enjoy the rest of your week. Try to recover, rest from the hour change. It's going to hit you hard this week, but eventually it's going to be worth it when you're taking a walk around your neighborhood at 7 o'clock in the evening and it's still light out. So enjoy everything, and we will see you soon next week, and hopefully we'll have some interesting stuff to talk about. Enjoy your St. Patrick's Day.